Good afternoon, Keith Tebow, FRCmedia. Thank you for joining us today. Fall River Police, along with State Police and the Bristol County District Attorney's Office, is continuing to investigate yesterday's shooting in the afternoon near Griffin Park. And I'm pleased to be joined by the police chief of the city of Fall River, Chief Jeffrey Cardoza. Chief, how are you? Thank you for joining me.
I'm okay, Keith. Thank you for having me on.
I know it's been a rough almost 24 hours, but I guess let me just ask you: is there anything you can update us in terms of what's happening with the case? We know that the two victims who deceased have been identified. Anything else you can lend in terms of what's happening with the investigation?
I could just tell you that we have a tremendous amount of resources with, District Attorney Quinn's office and the state police and my folks as well. And the investigation is going to be extremely lengthy. It's going to take some time. They're interviewing a lot of folks. They're looking at a lot of video footage and canvassing the neighborhood.
Has there been any incidents in that area in terms of gun violence in the recent past, or even maybe in the past few years that may correlate to what may have happened here?
Like some neighborhoods in Fall River, Corky Road's experienced its share of violent crime. I've said this to you, Keith, before, and I'll say it again. Gun violence is our most important crime right now, and we've had an uptick in that, and we're going to do everything we can to get that down, working with our federal and state partners.
I know that there's going to be a lot of talk with the people in the neighborhood. Are you also hoping to maybe tap into any security video that may be available in that area as well?
Yeah, as far as the neighborhood goes, I just left there about a half hour ago and actually met with the family of the 14-year-old boy that was tragically killed and extended my condolences. And there's a lot of wonderful people, Keith, that live up in the Corky Road neighborhood. And, they're frustrated and I'm frustrated, and we're going to try to work together. I spoke with Mark from the Corky Neighborhood Road Club. The mayor's been up there as well. And yes, your answer to the video situation is that every case that we work, whether it's from the most mild case to a homicide, video is extremely important to us.
Any indication at all as to whether this was a lone gunman, multiple gunmen? I know yesterday at your press conference down in the area, you had said that police were chasing someone who could have been involved. Do you know how many people were involved in terms of the shooters?
That's not something I'm prepared to talk about. I'm letting the detectives, do their work, and I don't want to jeopardize the investigation at this point. So it's not something I can talk about, Keith. I know that there was a foot chase, but it doesn't appear to be involved.
Okay. Let me just ask you in general, we've had this conversation before about the instances of gun violence in Fall River. You just mentioned again, it is a top priority. You have a task force that looks into this. We're entering a season as the weather gets warmer when unfortunately, a lot of this activity increases. What are the plans that you have within your department to keep a closer eye on this? I know you keep a close eye all the time, but is it particularly more difficult as the weather gets warmer? It
is. It's something that, I'm sure you've seen nationally. You just watch the news and you're seeing that gun violence is trending upward in a lot of the urban communities like Fall River, whether it's a medium-sized city or a large area like New York City or Chicago. There's a lot of different ways that we approach this. It can go from having our own surveillance systems up to having foot patrols as a preventative measure. So, and everything in between. One of the things that we're doing is, and I've talked about this before, I don't mean to be redundant, but we're really closely allying and partnering, if you will, with our federal and state partners. I've been on the phone weekly with District Attorney Quinn about different things. And if we can put a case on you for gun violence, myself and the district attorney are going to do everything we can to make sure that you're incarcerated for a very long time.
Yeah. I want to just get back to the case from yesterday. Any update on the third victim who was wounded? Is he still in Rhode Island Hospital? Any update on his condition?
I have no update on his condition, but it's my understanding he's still at Rhode Island Hospital.
Right. And as far as you know, he's expected to survive?
As far as I know, yes.
Okay. All right. I want to touch upon a couple of other issues that we have talked about in the past, just to get an update. A few weeks ago, a member of the police department posted an inappropriate comment on the police department's Facebook page concerning the Derek Chauvin trial. You have launched an external investigation into that case. Can you provide any updates on has anything been resolved as of yet?
Yeah. So that's correct, Keith. We did. We hired somebody that nobody in the building, a group of investigators, if you will. There's an attorney. There's the former Secretary of Public Safety in Massachusetts. Different people that make up this group that do these investigations, these types of things. And I wanted to make sure that they had no direct affiliation to our community. So they've come in. They've interviewed quite a few people. And it's my understanding that they're going to be, I'm going to be getting the report shortly. I would hope in the next 7 to 10 days.
All right. And in the meantime, the officer is still not allowed to, work on behalf of communications for the department, but he's still employed with the department, correct?
Yes. The officer's been transferred to it's actually, I don't want to say officer, I want to say captain. It is a captain. He's been transferred to a position that has no direct contact with the public, and it's going to stay that way.
All right. The other issue that I want to bring up, or one of the other issues I want to bring up, was last year it was announced that the police department would be undergoing again another outside audit, if you will, of activity. Some of it had to do with its relationship to the community. It was going to be performed by former Boston Police Commissioner Ed Davis. And a while back, the mayor had mentioned that the report was due to you anytime soon. Have you received that report? And is there anything you can release in terms of its findings?
So we're not ready to release exactly what it says in it. I'm going to defer to the mayor's office on that. It was something that I know the city council wanted to get done. But yes, the report is done, and it just got released to myself and the mayor.
Just briefly, anything caught your eye in terms of any surprises without getting into the details? Anything that you looked at that you may not have seen in terms of any deficiencies within the department in general?
There's nothing in there that shocked me.
All right. And how do you hope to use the findings in this report in terms of moving forward, in terms of building the relationships between the department and the community? And in some respects, we are coming up on an anniversary. Next week was the 1-year anniversary of the death of George Floyd, which resulted in a number of protests across the country, including in Fall River. So I guess my question is, how do you hope to use some of this to improve the department going forward?
So one of the things I'm excited about is we're and I've gotten a tremendous amount of support from the mayor and the council on this. Is we're going to be an extremely well-trained police department by this time next year. We're putting a vast majority of officers through de-escalation. They've already been through it. It's important to note, Keith, that this is above and beyond the mandatory Mass Police Training Council 40 hours. We're hiring people to come in and not only do de-escalation, but now we have officers going through fair and impartial policing and implicit and explicit bias training. So at the end of that, you're probably looking at almost another, let me back up, Keith. We also have officers going through what's called CCIT training, which is to how to deal with folks that are in, a crisis. So at the end of that, you're looking at maybe more than another 40 hours of training on top of what we normally do. So that's something that was important to me. It was important to the mayor. I know it's important to some of the council members. And, I told the mayor just the other day, I said, you're going to have a very well-trained police force.
And the response by the rank and file has been positive as well. They understand the importance of this?
They do. I've said this before, I'll say it again. The officers in this building, they're the ones most disappointed. And are just as disappointed as the folks that, when we see a bad officer do something, whether it's here or somewhere else in the country. Yeah.
One final question in terms of the ranks of the police department. I know there were a number of retirements, a number of the positions needed to be filled. You had some officers, trainees going through the academy. What's the status of filling those positions and getting up to what the mayor hopes and you hope, I believe, is a complement of, 235 as we hit next fiscal year?
Yeah, that's the minimum, folks that I need to have to get this job done effectively. So Yeah, we have, I think it's 13 people still in the academy that will probably be graduating in the next, I would think, 7 or 8 weeks. And then they'll go through their 13 weeks of FTO training. We're in the process now of hiring more. The mayor gave me permission to hire 5 more because, Keith, we've lost people. I think with police reform and, what's going on in the country, I've had some folks that have retired early, a little short of maxing out, and just want to go on and do something else with their life. We've also had a handful of people want to, we had somebody leave for Vegas. We've had a few people leave for Florida. So, they've gone to different places to stay involved in law enforcement. So, yeah, we have some positions. The difficulty is it takes us 9 months to get them on the road. So we just got to keep that process going in order to get up to that 235.
Has there also been difficulty finding potential recruits to go through the academy? Is the willingness of people to become a police officer not where it once was?
Yes, you're right. We work off a civil service list, so we have a list to work off. We don't have to actually advertise, if you will. Although we did put a big effort into recruitment. I get the numbers from civil service. The next exam is in June. And I think we had 110, people sign up specifically for the Fall River examination. That's down. I'm told in the past we would be, 200 plus. So I think we're seeing this nationally where folks don't want to necessarily go into a job like this. It was hard a year ago. It's much harder now.
Yeah. All right, Police Chief Jeffrey Cardoza. Chief, I appreciate your time as always. Thank you for updating our audience and the community on what's happening out there. And we hope to touch base again soon. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Keith. Take care.
All right. And thank you for joining us today here in FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. Have a great rest of your day.